And this week on the Trucking Risk and Insurance podcast, we have Andrew Chermark from Insure Analytics. And Insure Analytics is really interesting because Andrew gets to talk to us about how we can use the different analytics or the different data sources that are available to you in the trucking industry. Join us.
Welcome to the Trucking Risk and Insurance podcast.
Andrew, welcome to the Trucking Risk and Insurance podcast. Can you please start off by introducing yourself and your company to our listening and viewing audience?
All right. Well, thank you, Chris, and thank you, John, for having me on today. My name is Andrew Chermark. I'm from a company called Insure Analytics. We're based in New Jersey, along the beach, New Jersey.
Nice. Is there any sand on that beach?
Well, you know, there is some sand. There's still some sand left, and it's pretty nice. But the summers, unfortunately, are short here in the Northeast.
Yeah, no doubt.
Hey, we're a little bit further north than you, so we understand. Believe me. Hey, give us some insights into the telematics industry and what's been changing in telematics.
Well, thank you for that question, Chris. Yeah, it's amazing how life in general is changing, as well as technology, with introductions of different machine learning and all kinds of different stuff. But what I see, and I lived it, started doing telematics in the early 2000s, and when we first started, they were hardwired devices, guys. And hardwired devices were typically, red was your power, white was your ignition, and black was your ground. So we were just kind of pulling power, and a box that would be able to triangulate from satellites, and then they would use the satellites to kind of put where that vehicle was, and then transfer that information through cell towers to computer servers, which obviously people are accessing on the internet. And when we first started, it was all just Big Brother. It was really companies wanting to know, where are my employees? Are they getting to the jobs? And then as the business changed a little bit through the years, they started to say, oh, wow, this is a great productivity efficiency tool. Not only can I do that, but I can confirm my payroll, my billable hours. A lot of companies love to use it for billable hours because, during those times when times were tough for all consumers and people in general, consumers were calling these home service contractors or delivery companies saying, hey, your guy was only here for an hour. Why are you billing me for 3 hours? So companies were using this to kind of confirm how long guys were there and to get paid timely.
Sure.
What's kind of transpired over the last couple of years, say the last 5 years or so, is that the units have changed. The actual units now plug into the diagnostic port of a vehicle. Well, now, if it's a light duty vehicle, they call it an OBD2, and it's a little square plug that mechanics plug into when you bring it to a car dealership for light duty vehicles. For your heavy duty vehicles, like your tractors that are tractors for big trucks or yellow equipment, they call them J buses. And if anybody on the call knows, they kind of look like heavy duty extension cords, where the plug is circular. It's a circular plug, and it's either a 6 or a 9-pin plug. The point, though, guys, is that because we're able to plug into the diagnostics and the brains of a vehicle, we're actually able to pull diagnostic information, not only the health of the vehicle, but the actual driver behavior, such as harsh braking, rapid acceleration on their cornering, because there's an accelerometer now in the actual GPS telematics device. So with those changes, the introduction of safety started to kind of get implemented through these telematics companies. And I know we'll talk later about some of the advantages of how that evolves around safety, but that's kind of how it changed. Companies are now implementing, driver safety programs. They have maintenance programs where, if a check engine light comes up on the main dashboard, it instantly sends an email notification to the fleet manager, letting them know something's wrong with their vehicle.
Well, yeah. And I mean, some of the other things, You alluded to it, but let's jump into driver scorecards, because I really believe that is one of the huge advancements of telematics, of ELDs, is that we can now start educating the driver on some different habits.
Absolutely. And, the biggest thing, they say nowadays, 90% of a lot of the accidents is behavior and attitudes
Yeah.
of drivers. And, people have the way that they drive and repetition. And, these scorecards, it's an algorithm that these telematics companies put together on 4, maybe 5 different elements. And these elements are harsh braking, rapid acceleration, hard cornering, and some other factors, seatbelt, if they're wearing a seatbelt or not wearing a seatbelt. And then what they do is each company, and then obviously miles driven, because we all know that the more miles that you drive, and depending upon what time of the day you drive, that's how the risk profile gets created by an insurance underwriter. So they take all those different elements and they put it in what they call their secret sauce, their algorithm, and then they spit out a score. So we all were in school, right? I'm not sure what kind of class, what kind of student you guys were, but I was one of those C minus guys. However, it kind of, most of the companies rate from 0 to 100 in the telematics world. Obviously, the higher the score, the safer the driver. But what it really has really helped companies is it's helped companies really identify the bottom 20% of their most riskiest drivers.
Right.
And typically within a company, those risky drivers are the next trip away from having a potential collision. So again, I think the most important thing that, to educate the folks on this call today is that, identify the most riskiest drivers, and rehabilitate and coach them. In today's world, it's very hard to find good employees, whether you're a truck driver or a home service contractor. It's, when you find really good people that are good people, they just need help. They just need coaching. And, listen, we all know that you get similar results, whether you kick someone in the butt or you pat them on the back. And what I found is that patting people on the back and rewarding them for for their good attitude and their good behavior goes a lot longer, and it's really become a retention tool for a lot of companies nowadays, these scorecards. Because I'll give you an example. One of the companies that are out there, Bridgestone Mobility, one of their subsidiaries, they actually tie these safety rewards into electronic gift cards that can actually be sent out directly to the mobile app of a driver. So all the telematics companies have mobile apps where the drivers can see where they rank. And that's fantastic because they're creating camaraderie, they're gamifying it, and they're getting people engaged, right? Engaged in driving safe. That's like we talked about earlier, getting everyone home safe to their families. That's the number one thing. What Bridgestone has kind of done is they kind of take it to the second level. They're one of the only companies that actually implemented in a rewards program where these electronic gift cards can be used at big boxes such as Walmart, Home Depot, Starbucks, Burger King, Amazon. And what it does is it gets people, listen, most people do what they get rewarded for. Let's face it, right? I mean, so I think not only can you use a rewards program to retain your drivers, but you can also do it to rehabilitate and coach them as well.
Well, and just to further that from a risk point of view, I would love it if the company would send to the spouse notification that electronic gift card went out. Because if you get the spouse asking the driver, hey, where's my quarterly gift card or something, now we've got real incentive.
Got some cheerleader going on there. So,
well, I tell you, it's great. It's become, like I said, that's some of the changes going on, and it's a positive thing, guys. Because you know what, people respond differently. I mean, you got managers out there, and you can't manage people the same way. You need to manage people as individuals, and just again try to change their behavior and attitude in a positive way to get the results that companies are looking for. Ultimately, you talked about it, Chris, right? A risk profile, right? So how does a company change their risk profile? How do they try to get some sort of consideration or credits from an insurance company? Well, the way to do it is share your telematics data. If you deal,
Absolutely.
you don't need to deal with you can deal with a company like ours or anybody out there that's selling telematics or risk services. The bottom line is you need to clean the data, obviously, first, right? Because you can't share data that's not good data, right? But what's nice is it can help you offset your loss runs with your cost of claims and frequency by showing historical good, safe driving data. And that's what these scorecards do. And that's what insurance companies want to see. They want to see historical trends going like this, guys, going up. Now, it doesn't necessarily need to go like this, right? But it needs to be historical, and it needs to show a
Yep.
behavior pattern that is showing going in the right trend, and that you are addressing these safety measures not only on a monthly basis, but we're seeing companies doing it biweekly now
Yeah.
because the data is there. So the more that the owners pay attention to driver safety, the more impact it can have on
Yeah.
the actual driver.
I got a question for you, Andrew. With your organization and whatnot, what percentage of your business would you say is probably more aligned to that lighter commercial application versus the heavy tractor trailer type business?
So in our particular industry, we have a sister company called Smart Fleet. That they've been around for about 15 years. In that particular vertical, we do sell construction companies, and we do have maybe a couple of dozen trucking companies. But the
Yeah.
majority of our customer base is home service contractors, which is
Okay.
your
Okay. Yep.
HVAC
Sure.
contractor.
Yeah.
When what we're finding at is that those particular industry is not as heavily regulated
No.
as the
Exactly.
trucking industry, where, as you guys know, when a heavy duty truck, whether it's a truck driver or construction vehicle, anybody that has a heavy duty vehicle, the cost of the claims is severe, and there are some serious nuclear verdicts going on right now
Yeah.
around the world.
Yeah.
And that particular industry has a lot of regulation. They have a lot of risk, and a lot of people focus on that, and as
Yeah.
they should. But I'm here to tell you that just because you drive a lighter vehicle doesn't mean that you can't get in a severe accident collision
Well,
like a
right.
truck
Well,
can as well.
right. Well, and it's interesting because I've worked with a lot of light commercial operations in the past, and one of the things that's interesting is you're usually hired for your skill set to do a particular job, not to drive that panel van, or that vehicle
Yeah.
or whatever it be. It's more to go, hey, I need you to work on HVAC systems. I need somebody that's certified in that process, a pipe fitter, plumber, electrician, all that stuff. And usually the companies forget about the fact that they're driving a small billboard around town, so all the more reason to have a telematics program to measure, monitor, and change behavior, and get it going the right way. And if we don't help those drivers that are operating that, and the sad part is those drivers don't think they're drivers. They think they're an electrician or a tradesman or something along that line. But if we can bring to their attention your driving aspect in my little billboard going around town is going to cause us great grief with our reputation, not to mention the fact our insurance program and whatnot. So those type of operations usually have a much smaller severity level when it comes to claims, but a much bigger impact when it comes to frequency. So it's telematics is a great tool to be able to help those smaller operations, which some of them are not so small really when you got like a national operation going on,
Sure.
but it's a small vehicle, so they don't think big concept because it's just a small vehicle, it's just a passenger vehicle. And the sad part is we hire that skilled person to do the job, but we forget about we need to train them on how to operate that vehicle safely, professionally, and telematics is a great tool to be able to kind of go, let's measure this so we can better manage it.
Absolutely, John. And it's funny you bring that up because that's part of our sister company when they go and they're presenting the telematics solution. The first thing we say to them is, they say, "Oh yeah, my tech," and we're like, "Oh yeah," because when you're in the trucking world, it's drivers. When you're in the
Yes,
home service
yes,
contractor
yeah,
business,
my tech.
they're named as techs. And I say to them,
Yep,
"Yeah, you interview them about their skill set." To your point, John,
yep,
and then you hand them this $75,000 missile, we call it, with your name, right, your billboard
yep,
name on it.
yep,
And I got to
yep.
tell you, there's been a lot. I mean, you guys would know this, and I've seen it firsthand because I have customers in 46 states, and you can't go a mile or two in Florida, Louisiana, and Texas without seeing a personal
Mm-hmm.
injury attorney on
Mm-hmm.
billboards.
Yes,
And they're
exactly.
slowly starting to make their way into Tennessee now,
Yep.
and it applies to any commercial
Yeah.
driver, regardless of
Mm-hmm.
what. And we're finding that people are unfortunately not doing the right thing, so to speak, and
Yep.
they're causing insurance fraud by pulling out in
Sure.
front of these companies and
Mm-hmm.
slamming on their brakes.
Yeah.
A couple of our customers are in some lawsuits right now down in those states, and we're trying our best to help them with data. But
Mm-hmm.
to answer to talking to you
Mm-hmm.
about that, you're absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to make them aware that say, hey, you know what, guys? Yeah, it's not just Big Brother anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Look at your driver scorecards. Look at how you
Mm-hmm.
can rehabilitate and coach.
Yep.
And
Yep.
again, it's all about, we talk about safety, safety, safety. And ultimately these small businesses and even trucking companies, regardless of everybody wants to get these folks and gals home to their
Mm-hmm.
safe to their families,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Yep.
and obviously the way to do that is to be more involved and be engaged, because I know
Yes.
that, listen, whether you have 1,000 vehicles or you have 50 vehicles on the road, whoever the boss is that signs the checks, if
Mm-hmm.
that boss is not involved in that biweekly or monthly meeting,
Mm-hmm.
it
Mm-hmm.
won't work.
Right.
It won't
True.
work. I mean, I know they got these fleet managers and safety managers, and listen, they're great, and I'm not putting them in a different light. I mean, they
Mm-hmm.
provide great services and they do
Right.
good, but you need the person that signs the checks to
Mm-hmm.
be right
Mm-hmm.
alongside his fleet manager, saying this is
Yep.
important to me,
Sure.
to my company,
Exactly.
and to your
Yep.
families
Yep.
that
Andrew,
that you do this.
say
Yeah.
that one more time again, because that is
So important.
I tell you, I
Yep.
don't know. When I go and I do my fleet risk with small business owners and even some business owners that have 200-300 vehicles, I say to them exactly what I just say it again. If you need to be involved, you
Yes.
need to be at these meetings and you need to pay attention to this,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
you have one nuclear verdict. Um, it's terrible. I mean,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
it could be devastating to your business,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll spend years trying to use good data to outweigh all those losses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so again, I'm really I'm a big component on going to. I always ask when I make these calls, because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it isn't the guy sitting in the corner. It's the guy in the middle that's signing the checks that everybody
Yeah.
respects and knows he's the real boss of the place.
Yeah.
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 Exactly.
No, I think that's gold. That,
Yep.
what the owner pays attention to, everybody else tends to pay attention to.
Yep.
So if the
Absolutely.
owner says,
Yep.
"Hey, this stuff's important," gosh darn
Mm-hmm.
it, then everybody pays attention. Let me
Yeah.
ask you a different question now. How is AI affecting your business? So, artificial intelligence, just to be clear, how is that affecting the telematics industry?
Well, it's actually the telematics. We call them TSPs, telematic service providers.
Mm-hmm.
They're embracing that technology along with a lot of other businesses around the world, because they're able to use artificial intelligence and machine learning to obviously create services that can help them be much safer on the road. Use the data to learn from each other. It's funny
Mm-hmm.
how
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you an example of AI and how it's helping not only drivers but also helping companies. These new commercial telematics dash cams, right? We call them safety cams, dash cams. Um, the new types of AI is that they're using infrared on the eyes of the driver to
Right.
provide in-cab coaching. It's not about just recording events, it's about trying to prevent accidents. So that's the newest type of technology out. Most of the TSPs are using similar cameras with this artificial intelligence, because what it does is, accidents happen in a second, guys. We all know that, right? Boom. You have a collision, your eyes, take your eyes off. So what happens is, when you have you're looking out the front windshield, when you take your eyes off the road, whether you have sunglasses on or not, and for more than 2 or 3 seconds, the camera recognizes that, okay, and it's immediately now creating some sort of audio tone, or actually saying words. Put your eyes back on the windshield. Wake up. I mean, whatever, however you want to customize the words. But the point is, I have it in my car, and listen, I'm human too, and I try not to text and drive, and I try to drive safe, but I'm like everyone else, in America. We're overworked, and we're doing things we shouldn't be doing. But I got to tell you, the camera's helped me many times. Put my eyes back on that road.
Yep.
And one other thing with AI and machine learning, I said earlier about these driver scorecards, right? With the algorithms and the secret sauce on how they kind of come up with these driver risk scorecards. We'll talk a little bit about Milliman, which is an actuarian company. They have a thing called AccuRate. Milliman is a 90-year-old actuarian company based out of Seattle, and their AccuRate has been approved by regulators because they're taking it a step further than TSPs. TSPs are doing driver behavior and things like that, and using a little bit of weather and third-party apps. Sunny, 50 degrees, not raining, is raining, snowing, not snowing. But the Milliman folks are really taking it a step further with kind of doing a joint venture with Bridgestone Mobility, where they're actually creating a risk score similar to like a credit check. Like you do, because we all know, insurance companies do credit checks on people,
Sure.
as well as other historical and motor vehicle records and things like that. But again, AI, machine learning, it's all about using third-party data and trying to, I tell people in the simplest term, like I said earlier, guys, I'm an ex-football player with a few concussions. Okay, let's just keep it simple here, right? They put it in a big pot, right, and they boil it, right, and then it boils it down, and then when they boil it down, they have the secret sauce with algorithms and AI and machine learning, and they spit out actionable business intelligence that not only commercial underwriters, but also brokers and agents and people in loss control that can use that through their business workflows to help them improve safety across the board. So, I try to keep it simple for people, because you know what, we'll never figure out how they do it, but we don't necessarily need to know how they do it. We need to know
Right.
how it helps people drive
Yes.
safer and prevent collisions.
Yes.
All we need to know is
Great.
information like that can help us get the best insurance rates possible, which for a lot of companies, insurance is certainly in their top 10, but normally in their top 5 expenses. So if they can control insurance rates and drive it a little bit lower, that's giving them a huge advantage. And how do you drive it lower?
Yeah.
By helping your underwriter, your insurance provider, understand your business as best you can, which is exactly, I think, what you do. Isn't it, Andrew?
Absolutely. And, like I said, as the business has evolved, telematics, like I said, I started with, years ago with GPS on Nextel phones. And then we went into these black boxes. And now the business has evolved to where Bridgestone, I say Bridgestone again, because they are, they're doing a lot of different tire sensors, so that the correct pressure of a tire has a lot to do with the safety of a vehicle, as well as miles per gallon. They're also focusing on a product they own, which we have the authority to help people use. And basically, what it does is it aggregates TSP data. So whether you use Verizon, Geotab, Samsara, Azuga,
Right.
there's 50 plus telematics companies out there nowadays, But the point is, by aggregating this data, right, they harmonize it, they enrich it, and they analyze this connected vehicle data. And what it does is it allows an underwriter to use well-established, well-known technology, right? It's been out over 20 years, telematics, to be able to identify opportunities for risk and be able to, in the insurance side, because remember, you got three players, right? You got the carrier, the brokers, and the policyholder, right? The insured. So each one kind of can use data to help all of them, right? But from the insurance carrier's perspective, is a lot of turnover going on with underwriters. They're just checking boxes, right? So we're trying to give them data, real-time data that shows what the risk profile is of a company from real-time information from their TSPs, technology, but more importantly, be able to find profit in these premiums. So with good data. And as far as the brokers go, I mean, listen, insurance brokers, there's a, they need to differentiate themselves. They need to change the way they do business, and they need to embrace technology and be able to offer value to their customers during renewal and prepare them for renewal. Whether it's annual and safety inspections of their vehicles, or offering some sort of risk assessment to be able to improve their portfolio. Because again, unless you can make an insured, unless a business owner, right, can take the data he has and make that data substantially good in the eyes of an underwriter, then the main thing is they all pay for it right now, but nobody does anything with it. They don't do anything with it. And we're here to tell them, look, guys, listen, we don't know a lot about a lot of things, but what we do know is that you already pay for the data, and there are many fleet risk safety specialists out there that can help you develop a driver safety program to improve that data, make yourself look attractive, right? You have to look attractive to an insurance company, right? And use the data to be able to, I don't want to say leverage, but it is the right word, to leverage these insurance carriers on your good data to outweigh your losses.
Andrew from Insure Analytics, I think that is a great place to wrap that up. Did we cover everything you needed to cover?
I think we did. I did, and I thank you, John and Chris, for the opportunity to get the message out to all your listeners. And I would like to just leave with this. It's a very short lifespan we all have, and spend time with your family. Be kind to people, and just try to drive safe. I mean, listen, as I said earlier, I'm not. We all do it, but you know what? Just think of your family and try to get home safe to them. And thank you again, guys, for the opportunity.
What a great interview this week. Andrew Chermark from Insure Analytics, giving us an insight as to all the different data sources that we can use. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Trucking Risk and Insurance Podcast. John and I appreciate you. Give it a like and a thumbs up. Leave us a comment. We would love to hear from you. That's it for this week.